Good afternoon on January 22nd. Here, finally last night after dark, got everything repaired on this 2001 Dodge Ram 3500. The brakes were damaged. Went ahead and replaced the adjuster kit and spring retaining kit when I had to replace the shoes. I could have probably straightened up the adjuster enough to get by, but it might not have caught on those cogs properly after that. Don't know how hot the springs got, because I'm assuming the brakes were dragging against the drum after the damage is the reason it got hard enough or had sparks to cause the brake fluid to catch on fire. This little piece got damaged slightly. That's the one that pulls on the adjuster lever to rotate the actual adjusting rod there. The other two are retaining springs. This one goes on the bottom, the other one on the top. These springs here hold onto the shoe, and these go through the backing plate, the little hook there, and the hooks on each of those go together. You can see here this crummy mud dauber welding. This is what little bit I managed to get done on the back side while holding a flashlight to shine up there. Thankfully, the outside towards, which would be the inside of the drum, but towards the outside of the truck was ever so much better. Just welded little bits at a time so it wouldn't get overheated and burn a hole in it or anything. And then ground the excess off with a die grinder and a cutting wheel in order to make sure those shoes could come fully against the backing plate like they're supposed to, because here and on the other side and here is points that the shoes are supposed to be able to come against to stay flat and level. Here's one of those new hooks right there that I showed you. Of course, got a brand new wheel cylinder in there. Since the other one was busted, it got hit so hard. Then I adjusted it last night. These holes here are not original. I couldn't see the shoes to tell whether or not they wore out, and on this thing they don't start squeaking or anything when they get worn. They just wear out and start catching metal to metal and either lock up when you have to jam the brake or just don't work with the crap, and it'll get full of dust. So I put these little holes the other side after adjustment to get a little bit of brake drag. I went ahead and cleaned off and put a little piece of electric tape to keep water out of there, because sure, it'll go in here too, but if you're splashing around this and that, it's better to keep rocks and water out of those holes. Anyway, the adjuster there, the lever that adjusts it pulls upwards inside the drum there towards the outside of the truck. So to adjust, you need to rotate with a brake adjusting tool, screwdriver, pry bar, or whatever, and rotate it downwards on this. I'm not going to do that just yet. Let's see if I can find this other glove and rotate this tire from underneath. I don't have help like I managed to get a little yesterday. Oops. Creeper, stop moving. There's some slight brake drag. I had a lot of concern last night because looking inside that hole, my inspection holes that I made with probably a 3/8 drill, I'm seeing a gap between, I don't know if, dang it, I can't get both tools up here. There's a gap between the shoe and the drum, but there was a little drag. I think what it is that bushing up there and part of the backing plate that I had to reinstall. I had to grind down a little bit to get it to fit where it came from because the metal was stretched, and then try to tap it over. It broke loose, which was fine with me. I'm going to include over the front of the video the picture I took with a C-clamp holding that all in place with a plate of metal here for it to clamp against, so I could actually start welding it. And you can see there where I got a little arc unintentionally trying to get my welding rod up in that location. I had sun shining underneath here past the drum, or excuse me, past the backing plate. The drum was laying over on the ground dirty still. Had to use engine degreaser and wipe it down, and use brake clean, wipe it down real good, get all the grease and oil off, dust, and then use a piece of emery cloth, or sandpaper works too, and take inside the drum and sand it across the normal rotation of it to get it cleaned up and to give it a little bit of fresh abrasive. It's not anywhere near enough to cause any issue. I got a little drag on this side, but I still see gaps, so I'm going to try to adjust it a little bit. I'm going to check the other side too, that I had adjusted a little bit, because there wasn't really hearing any drag on that side, so it could have been a little better. And with a jack stand in the way, this isn't working too well. But got to use all the proper safety equipment, ragged out gloves, jack stands. I actually had 2 jack stands on this side yesterday, which might have been noticed. One under the axle and one under the frame, so just in case it started sinking in the gravel, there were 2, so it wasn't a problem. Then I had to move the jack to the right side to be able to turn them, because this thing has got Positrack, so the drive shaft couldn't turn freely. I have to have all 4 tires off the ground back here. Here is where the line had been disconnected to temporarily block it off. I cleaned it, sprayed it a little brake clean. It seems to be just fine now. I'm pretty sure that's residue. I figured to get me brake clean sprayed off once more before I let the truck on the ground, and just be able to keep an eye on it. You always want to recheck your stuff, whether you work on it or somebody else does. Make sure there's no leaks. Too many engines have been lost because oil change places don't put the darn drain plug back in snug and tight, properly torqued. Anyway, hopefully this actually gets loaded. Currently don't have internet service through the phone or the Wi-Fi. While I was watching KLW World News on Rumble, my friend Lee Wilbarger letting everyone know that the new Russian battleship with supersonic missiles carrying nuclear warheads happened to be moving down our east coast of the USA, and at the moment it was showing it was probably adjacent on the longitude with Georgia. So hopefully all the crummy leaders don't cause big problems and people decide to use a weapon to cause an EMP to knock out our communications and electric grids and stuff, or something even worse. So stay aware and prepared. Take care of yourself. Learn to be self-sustainable. If nothing else, it'll save you money, considering we got Bidenflation.